is exclusive. You ain't never heard of it. You can't get it nowhere else.
You heard him? You know what that makes this? And a limited edition. Brought to you by none other than
What's going on, everybody? YouTube world and all the pre-dental and dental students and dental professionals out there. This is Some Brandom Dentist, and I wanted to welcome you all to my page. So, this first video is just an introduction to me. You know, who I am, what I'm going through, why I'm doing this, and what I hope you can get out of my channel. So, I was a high school English teacher. I taught for 9 years. And it feels surreal to say that because, you know, I was a teacher for my entire 20hood. I was ELA, that stands for English Language Arts, by the way, and I was really vested in my job. And so, you know, I think it's pretty standard across the board to know that most teachers are not rich. And so while looking for a part-time job, I ended up landing one from one of my students' parents who was a dental hygienist who worked for a dentist that needed a person in the front office to do clerical work. So long story short, I ended up working during the summer because I wanted the extra money. I had credit cards to pay off and I wanted to, you know, do it quickly. So I fell in love with dentistry. I fell in love with it because I saw myself doing the same thing that the dentist was doing, and I saw myself not even wanting to earn anything from it. And it just seemed like what I loved to do because I love to work with my hands and I love educating people. I love helping them get better at who they are and what it is they want to do. And so I felt like dentistry incorporated those things for the most part for me. And so I made the big bold decision to go back to my university, my alma mater, and take 3 years to do all the prerequisites and take the dental admissions test and still be employed full-time as a teacher and take a shot at earning a seat in a dental school. So, you know, I have to give myself a pat on the back because it was a really tough journey. But needless to say, I wanted to make this channel because I felt like there are a lot of dental students, or at least there are a lot of, you know, students like me who videotape their experiences, and they're a lot younger than applicants like me. So I'm non-traditional in the sense that I didn't go to dental school directly out of undergrad. I actually had a whole career, like I just mentioned, before I decided dentistry was a career for me. And so I felt like although there's a bountiful wealth of information for people who are really young, I also wanted to create that niche or create a channel for people kind of like myself to show them what it takes and what it took for me, at least, to get into dental school or get accepted into dental school. So I kind of want to cover some really brief topics with you guys today so that you can get a glimpse of what that timeline looked like and get an idea of, you know, what it was like for me to just wake up, go to work, go to school, study, grade papers, or, you know, spend time with family and loved ones, and then have time for myself, because it wasn't easy, as you can imagine. So let's start off with the finance part. So you may have heard that dental school is not the cheapest thing to it's not the cheapest type of education. Ugh, tongue tied today. It's not the cheapest education that you'll find. And I think the reason being is because, for one, it's a professional degree, so you're learning a trade. And two, you are paying for your cost of living in addition to your tuition. And so as a professional student, there are many of us who are a little older and may have other responsibilities like a family, or we may have other bills, or, you know, we may not be wanting to live the college dorm experience. And so with that, our cost of living is a little bit higher than the typical college student. And in addition to that, we are taking many standardized tests over the course of our 4 years. So we're taking national boards, for example, and those are test to see if you're competent in the clinical and the didactic knowledge of what it takes to become a dentist. In addition to that, you're paying for materials like dental loops. I'm not sure if other schools are charging for dental materials in the tuition or in the bill, but at least mine does. And so, you may be having to pay for those things. You're also probably going to want to do a dental mission trip. And so, with that being said, you're going to have to have an out of pocket cost, or you're probably going to volunteer, or you're probably going to, do what you can to raise those monies that you can't front up yourself. So there are a lot of costs that come along with being a dental student. In addition to that, I can only imagine that, as a practicing student doctor, you're treatment planning for many patients at the most extreme, and they're not really paying a lot of money for those services as well. And so I think the tuition is fronting that bill in some sense. And of course, I ended up getting accepted into a state school, so I can only imagine how much taxpayer dollars are being funneled into fronting the bill for those services. But needless to say, dental school education is expensive. In addition to that, I also wanted to mention you have to make sure that your finances are together, because one of the things that it takes to get this dental school application process ball, or whatever you want to call it, rolling, is money. And you've got to have plenty of it. So being a non-traditional student and, having bills and having a house note, having a car note, having consumer debt, it took me a while to truly prepare for the process and to get everything paid off and to develop a budget that, not only allowed me to pay for these things, but allowed for me to kind of live somewhat a life and still save for dental school as well. So it was tough mentally in that I had to do a lot of shifting, and I wasn't able to go out and eat with friends and, have drinks and go on trips like most of them were, because I knew what my responsibilities were. So with that being said, I did a lot of saving, paid off all of my credit cards, and I was able to put a little bit of money away so that I could have a cushion if I needed it during the 4 years of dental school while I'm not working, because you just never know what happens. Life is just very unexpected, almost, kind of like everything we face. So it's really important to do that as well. Credit is so important, because if you're like me, you may be taking out loans. And I think the majority of us were taking out loans anyway. I didn't have a scholarship going into dental school, but you're going to be offered a plus loan if your school is more than, I think, $40,800 a year. So you're going to be taking out a plus loan, and that is a credit-based loan where they're checking your credit to see if you have any adverse items. So, making sure that you're checking your credit reports quarterly or, frequently, or however many times you check it throughout the year is really important as well, because you want to know if you are able to qualify for these loans. And if you're not able to qualify, then you want to make sure that you have other options lined up. So that's that. Yes, so I still want to stick on finances. So preparing for all of the prep materials, oh gosh, and preparing for going to interviews and preparing for lodging and the food and the application fees, all of those things. I spent, and I don't know how to do a screenshot yet, but one of these days I'll show you guys my budget spreadsheet on Excel. I spent $5,700 in the application cycle, and that included all of those things that I ended up paying for. So you want to make sure that you either are working and saving, or you want to make sure that, and I would never suggest this, but if you have to, then, get a credit card, see if you can put those items on there, and then work a job and pay it off. So those $5,700 did not come cheap, and I didn't expect to spend that much money, but I ended up spending it much because I had prep materials. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with DAT Bootcamp or DAT Destroyer or Crack the Pat Dat or the Gold Standard. Those things were a lot of money, and so I wanted to make sure that I had enough materials to feed off of so that I didn't feel as if I was just kind of blind on it all. And, you know, I wasn't looking to pay for a prep course because, I'm a working teacher. I couldn't afford it. The third thing when it comes to finances that I wanted to talk about is just making sure you prepare for the DAT to take it once. And I ended up having to take it twice because I was, like I said, I was working full time, I was studying, and I was going to classes, so I was responsible for a lot. And that first attempt, I didn't really score as highly as I thought I would, but I felt like by taking the test again that second time, I would increase my chances to get a competitive score. So, in a nutshell, when it comes to finances, just be smart. Don't let people pull you from your plan. Write a plan out, stick to it. I know I'm very visual, so I have to write things out. I have to see them, and I have to play around with numbers in order to understand how much money is sifting from my bank account, so I'm not just spending it on frivolous things like Chick-fil-A that I also love, and I'm trying to get weaned away from, but that's another story. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about was just time. Time is not something that we get for free, time costs us all. So making sure that I was able to split my time up evenly between studying, working, and spending time with my loved ones was really important for me. At the beginning of this journey, I felt very overwhelmed because I hadn't gone back to school for a while, and taking 2 science classes that had labs per class on top of leaving an 8 to 5 job was not easy. And I added the pressure of wanting to earn A's in all of these classes. That tore me into shreds, but I was able to keep my grades up and make good grades. But it was only because I was able to take the advice from a really close friend that it's important to be in the moment. And what I mean by that is, if you're with your friends, enjoy the time with your friends, because life happens. People get married, people pass away, people move, people get new ventures. And so you have to take that time that you have with them and you have to cherish it. If you're with your loved ones or your significant other, you want to make sure that you have enough time with them to show them you care. Because, if you're like me, you have a significant other that you're taking into dental school with you. Everyone that loves you is on this journey. And so it's really important to not forget that, because they have needs just like you have needs. So you have to spend that quality time. And even though if that time isn't as bountiful as it was before, make the time, spend the time, earn the time, put it out there, just make it happen. And in addition to that, just making sure that if you're working full time while taking your post back classes or your prerequisites, as I call them, make sure that you are able to be in the moment with that and pick and choose your battles wisely. Prepare. I know for me, I taught a full teaching load, and I was also our English department chair, and I was also our journalism advisor. So I had a lot of things going on. And although it sounds impossible, I was able to finagle things into a lot of downtime that I had at work. And being that I'm not a beginning teacher, I was able to pick and choose my battles and try to figure out what worked and what didn't work, and kind of shave time off of things that I normally would spend more time on in the classroom. And so, while my students were working, I was working on work too. So, making sure that you are doing what you have to do to get to where you need to be is really important, so that you're not just sifting time away and just spending it on everything. So, last but not least, I'm spending this summer, I have 2 months off because, we teachers, we get, well, at least in my state or district, we have June and July off. So those are 2 months that I could use to just relax and just to catch up with friends and just to have fun and do the things that I wanted to do, so that when I do get to dental school, I feel refreshed. And right now it's mid-July, and I honestly have to say that I feel amazing. I've been waking up late almost every day, but I know eventually I'm going to have to start getting my body back to waking up really early again, because for dental school, I don't intend to sleep late and arrive in the class 5 minutes before the lecture starts. So it's really important for me to kind of get that rhythm going before we start everything, so that I'm not feeling deprived of sleep or tired. So yeah, I've been enjoying my time. I've been spending time with my family. I'm going to Florida next week with my mom, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm just really being smart about my time. I'm not worried about preparing for a class, or I'm not worried about, or at least for me, trying to be the smartest, or I'm trying to be that guy who has to ace everything, because I feel like, being that it's professional school and being that I don't have any interest in specializing, I want to do well enough to understand the material and learn it so that my patients deserve the best care. But at the same time, I'm not doing this to earn a certain grade. I feel like that part of the journey is over. I'm definitely not trying to fail, but I do want to do well enough so that I can enjoy my time in dental school responsibly. So with all that said, this video has become too long because it's at 16 minutes, and I apologize if this seems really unscripted, impromptu, unedited, whatever have you, or boring or cliche, but I hope that I can do better and learn the tools of the trade, the tricks of the trade, as I document this journey. So don't want to keep this long. I can talk a lot. I talk forever. That's just kind of one of my strengths and a weakness too. So with all that said, y'all have a great day, and remember, brush and floss. Bye. I need to wear my retainer, by the way.